Before starting, I would like to say that I have a special place in my heart for Telltale games. The Walking Dead franchise was, and still is, one of my favorite stories. However, all these years I kept ignoring their second most popular game, The Wolf Among Us. I was pleasantly surprised that I was able to buy the game in the first place, because earlier I had some issues with the Game of Thrones game, which turned out to be almost as good as this one. But we will get to that some other time. Before we begin, I should mention that I didn't grow up in the Western fairy tales, so many of the references were new to me. The Wolf Among Us. What was it about? First of all, Telltale jokingly tells us that our decisions matter here, and while that's debatable, I still enjoy their games. Then the game introduces an exposition about the Fables, who escaped their homeland and they are now forced to live in disguise with the help of a spell called Glamour. We play as Bigby Wolf, the big bad wolf himself, who serves as the acting sheriff of Fabletown. Bigby encounters Toad and tries to convince him to buy Glamour, otherwise Toad and his son will be sent to the farm. Something falls from the roof and we have no other choice but to go upstairs and figure out what's going on. There we see the woodsman and mysterious woman having an intense argument, even with some violence involved. While trying to calm him down, we end up getting into a fight that finishes with both of us falling out of the window onto a car, which, by the way, belongs to poor Toad. I thought it was over, but then the woodsman grabbed Bigby by the neck. Fortunately, the unknown woman helps us by driving an axe into his skull. After neutralizing the woodsman, we question her. She refuses to say who she is or what exactly was going on, except one thing. She was trying to collect money from the woodsman, but failed. Now we have two options: to give her money or not. I thought that she was already in enough trouble and my money wouldn't make much of a difference. She says that Bigby is not as bad as everyone claims he is. And well, I suppose that is true. The woodsman, by the way, escapes while we were questioning her. After that, we get this cool opening sequence that appears at the beginning of every episode. Then we return home and catch Beauty doing something suspicious. She sneaks out of the building and asks us not to tell Beast. I decided to stay out of it. Later, we meet Beast himself inside the residence, and I tell him that I'm staying out of this situation. Finally, we make it home and try to get some rest after this crazy night. Instead of some well-deserved sleep, Bigby finds his old pal Colin, who also happens to be a pig. Colin is worried about the farm. He actually snuck out of there, and honestly, I can't blame him. That place sounds awful to live in. Colin blames Bigby for the situation he's in right now. And to be fair, the big bad wolf did blow his house down. After Colin starts getting on Bigby's last nerve, I decide to give him a drink, just so that Bigby can finally get some sleep. But the peace doesn't last long. Someone starts knocking at the door, waking Bigby up. It's Snow White, interrupting his sleep. Snow has something troubling to tell us, and she clearly seems to be on edge. We take the elevator downstairs and see something at the front entrance. After removing the coat, we find the head of a girl we spoke to earlier that night. Poor thing had a ribbon with a ring attached to it in her mouth. I assumed that it was some kind of message that was deliberately left there. I also told Snow White to wait before informing her boss, since nothing was clear yet. I decided that this clearly needs further investigation. There is a trail of blood leading to the fence, and at this point I have no idea what's going on. The next day arrives and we head to the office, passing a long line outside. Some guy starts confronting us about it, but I literally work here, so what's his problem? Once inside, Snow and Crane are arguing about what happened the previous night. Crane, who is currently the mayor of the city, asks us who we think is responsible for the murder. I don't believe it was the woodsman, and I haven't even met this Bluebeard guy yet. And on top of that, she had problems collecting money for her boss, so her pimp seems like the most obvious suspect to me. Crane, of course, is not happy to hear that there is a prostitution in his city. He eventually leaves for his morning massage, and we're left alone with Snow. She says she probably shouldn't have told Crane so soon, but I don't push her too hard on it. We get straight back to the business and try to figure out which fairy tale the victim originally came from. For that we get help from Buffkin. I didn't know which tale this little creature was from at first, but he seems like a friendly guy. Later I checked and found out he is from The Wizard of Oz. The more you know, I guess. While we wait for the book to be brought in, we decide to gather some information using the magic mirror. It turns out you can't find a fable if you don't know their name. So for further investigation, we decided to check on what the woodsman is up to. He is just wandering the streets, and honestly we don't get much out of it. Then we catch Buffkin drinking, so Bigby tells him to get back to work. Shortly after that, Buffkin returns with the books that we need. It turns out Bigby can't read this ancient language, so Buffkin is more than happy to help. He is a good guy. While searching for the answers in the book, we come across a strange surname that catches Buffkin's attention. And yes, it turns out to be her. Her name was Faith, and she came from the tale of Donkey Skin. Her father was a king, and after his wife's death, he was required to marry the most beautiful woman in the kingdom, which turned out to be his own daughter, Faith. To escape, she disguised herself in a donkey skin and later married a prince who was able to see past her appearance. They lived happily ever after, or so the tale goes. Her story was tragic enough on its own, but now she's dead. Snow starts suspecting the husband, but I don't think he's responsible. I decide to ask the mirror about Faith, but it says its lips are sealed, just like Faith's were. Then we ask to see Prince Lawrence, and yeah, things start to look suspicious. Faith's father, meanwhile, is already long dead. Just as we're about to pay Prince Lawrence a visit, we get a call. It's Toad. He tells us that someone is snooping through the woodsman's things, and from the sound of it, he is in trouble. So we are forced to make a tough decision about where to go first. I choose to help Toad because he sounds genuinely concerned and might even be under attack. Prince Lawrence, on the other hand, can wait. We arrive at the building and notice someone through the hole in the outer wall, but when we rush over, whoever it was is already gone. As we get closer to Toad's apartment, we hear his son crying. Something is clearly not right. Snow asks us to be gentle, and I try my best. When we come inside, Toad seems surprised to see us. He claims it was a false alarm and tries to get rid of us. When we ask about the crying, he says his boy just hurt his leg. Still, I insist on staying and looking around to find out what really happened. Snow distracts the kid by asking him to show her his insect collection, and our investigation begins. Toad manages to explain almost everything, except for a lamp that used to be in another place and is now smashed to pieces near the entrance. He tries to convince us that it's nothing, but fails. On top of that, he lies straight to our face about the marks on a window. He says he did it while climbing inside because he forgot his keys. But before that, he told us the door lock was broken, meaning he wouldn't have had any trouble getting in. We catch him lying again, and he finally has no choice but to come clean. It turns out that either Tweedledee or Tweedledum paid him a visit, trying to collect some of the woodsman's belongings. Thinking Toad had one of them, he threatened Toad, saying that if he talked, his son would get hurt. Whoever it wasn't completely in the wrong. Toad Jr. shows us some fur that once belonged to Donkey Skin, hidden inside the fireplace. We also find an envelope here, but I decide to keep it sealed until we meet Lawrence. We don't exactly get the chance to meet Prince Lawrence properly, because when we arrive, he's already barely alive. We give him some water and ask who did this to him. His answer is simple: Faith. Snow asks Bigby whether she should open the letter, and I decide it's too important not to. Inside there is an apology written by Fate herself. Things get even more twisted when we find another letter in Lawrence's room. It also contains apology to the Faith, but we don't have much time to investigate because when we decide to check the closet, someone suddenly runs out of it. Bigby immediately chases after him, and after a short pursuit, we catch him. He tells us that Lawrence shot himself right in front of him after hearing about Fate's death. He also reveals where the woodsman is often seen, at the Trip Trap bar. The questioning doesn't last long though. The man we chase turns out to be Tweedledee, and his brother Dum shows up out of nowhere and knocks Bigby to the ground. When we wake up, the first thing we see is Snow's face. She calls a cab and we head straight to the Trip Trap bar. On the way there, Bigby and Snow have a conversation. Snow admits that she is shocked by how corrupted the Fable community is and how many different crimes are happening. She is clearly worried and genuinely wants to do her best to help. I tell her that she will figure something out and she is doing the right thing. When we arrive, she tells us to be careful. Oh, that's actually really sweet. Inside the bar, nobody is happy to see us. The owner refuses to answer any question about the woodsman, so we decide to sit right next to the gentleman. As we were talking, the woodsman walks out of the bathroom. He admits that he once tried to rob Red Riding Hood and her grandmother. For the first time, I decided to take the violent route just to see how it plays out, and so we smashed the glass into Woodsman's face. To my surprise, the woodsman doesn't actually want violence, but the bar owner's friend definitely does. He starts insulting Bigby and that quickly turns into a fight. The bar owner reveals herself to be a troll and the whole place turns into chaos. Bigby wins the fight and we're given a choice to rip his arm off or not. I decide that this is too much. He only insulted Bigby, nothing more. Unexpectedly, one of the Tweedle brothers walks into a bar and once again we are faced with a tough decision. Who do we arrest, knowing the other one will escape? I choose to go after the Tweedle, since I have a lot more questions for him. We tie him to a lamp post and notice flashing lights in the distance. As we get closer, we realize it's a whole crowd of police officers, all gathered in front of something horrifying: Snow's head. Honestly, I was completely shocked when I saw it, like genuinely stunned. The second episode starts with a cool cinematic scene, though its content is disturbing, of course. We are being interrogated by Mandies. That's what fables call non-fable citizens. Bigby refuses to answer detectives' questions, and then this happens. It turns out that Crane put a spell on the entire police station, making everyone forget the last 24 hours. After that, we return to the apartments, but this time to a place we haven't seen before, the basement. Here we meet Bluebeard for the first time. He is interrogating Tweedledee and he's doing it quite violently. I choose a different approach and find out that the Tweedle brothers were digging for information about Faith and that Beauty is somehow involved with them. We don't learn much, but at least it's something. Then Snow walks in. Honestly, it's such a relief to see that she is alive. Still, she's furious about the interrogation methods, but the most important thing is that TJ, Toad's son, found a body that night. Body glamored to look exactly like Snow. TJ tells us what happened. He went for a night swim and saw a woman without a head, with cinder blocks tied to her feet. Terrified, he hid and heard someone say, "Don't laugh." We immediately head to the witching well to examine the body. After an unpleasant inspection, we learn that the victim was using Mandy drugs and that her glamour came from the black market. In her pocket we find the spell that altered her appearance and break it right away. She turns out to be a troll, and there is only one other troll we know, the owner of a trip trap. Snow tells us that her name was Lily and that Holly, the bartender from the trip trap, is her sister. Lily had been reported missing. Things just keep keep getting darker. Our next stop is the Trip Trap, where we break the news to Holly. I choose a gentle approach, but her friend Gran is furious anyway. He claims that nobody cares about stray fables. Holly is devastated and even says that it should have been Snow instead. However, after Snow gives her the brooch that once belonged to Lily, Holly begins to calm down. She tells us that she hadn't spoken to her sister in a long time. Lily had fallen into drugs and started working at the Pudding and Pie Club. So that's our next destination. At the club, the girl lets us in and we meet Georgie. Of course, he doesn't want to tell us anything, but one of his employees, Hans, lets slip that there is a book containing the names of all the clients. We manage to pressure Georgie into handing it over, but it doesn't give us much, and he still refuses to cooperate. So we decide to talk to one of the girls who was there that night. She is a little mermaid who now goes by the name Nerissa. She can't say much because her lips are magically sealed, but she gives us an important clue by handing over a key with a room number for the hotel next door. We head inside and unexpectedly find Beauty working at the reception desk. She explains that she is working there to pay off a debt she owes to the crooked man. With the Beauty's help, we make our way to the room. Out of nowhere, Beast shows up, accusing us of cheating with his wife. We have no choice but to calm him down before continuing the investigation. Inside the room, we find a puddle of blood in the bed, surrounded by flower petals. As we look around, it becomes clear that this sick man was recreating a scene from Snow White, with Lily glamored to look just like Snow. Absolutely disturbing. In the closet, we find photographic evidence of what was going on, with Crane himself in the pictures. Moments later, we see Crane spying on Bigby through the magic mirror. He smashes it and escapes before we can stop him. We need to find Snow immediately, and fortunately, Beast knows that she might be at Lily's funeral, so we head there. At the place, which for me seems quite strange, Snow gives a speech about Lily, so I decide not to interrupt her. When she finishes, Holly approaches us, pissed off that we wouldn't let her bring the body for a proper ceremony according to troll traditions. But Snow tells her that Crane was behind the body disposal. Then we tell Snow what Crane has been up to, and she is, of course, in shock. Anyway, she needs to join the final part of the funeral, and when Bigby is left alone, Tweedledee puts a gun to his back. The brothers tell us to stop digging into Crane's affairs, because they are also interested in him. When we refuse, everyone at the funeral starts fighting the brothers. Holly and Gran get shot, as well as Bigby. Then Dr. Swinehart fixes Bigby up, and we learn that others also made it. That is some great news at last. Now our only hope is that Buffkin restores the mirror so we can find Crane. Snow thinks that maybe Crane is not the one who killed Lily, and asks Bigby if it's true that he enjoys it when things go south. I decide to answer no, because I try to make Bigby behave as non-violent as possible. Well, mostly. Instead of using every opportunity to let the beast out. After that, Buffkin tells us that the mirror is missing a piece. So now we have to come up with another plan. Buffkin mentions a witch that Crane got his glamour from. We decide to search Crane's desk and find a book with a page about some ring missing. Buffkin tells us that tonight Crane has a meeting with this witch at 2 a.m. We need to find her to catch Crane there. Unexpectedly, Bluebeard shows up and claims that he should also take part in the investigation, completely ignoring our refusal. He says that wherever we go, he will search other places. Because of this, I decide that searching Lily's belongings should be left to Bigby, since Bluebeard is much less considerate than we are. We go to the trip trap and Gran lets us in. He is under the effect of ambrosia to numb the pain. The woodsman is not a fan of Gran mixing it with alcohol, and they eventually get into a small fight. As a result, the woodsman leaves and Gran passes out. Honestly, I saw this coming. Now we need to find Lily's belongings, and they are right under a sleeping Holly, who is also under medication. When we get the box and find Lily's daily planner, Holly wakes up and says that she is counting on us to find her sister's killer. We don't learn much, then Snow calls, saying that we should go somewhere else. I decide that the Tweedle's office will be more helpful because those two are clearly up to no good, and I think Crane's apartment is just full of Snow White related stuff. At the Tweedle's office, Flycatcher lets us in, since he works there as a janitor. We find out that Beauty owes the Crooked Man a lot of money, and that Donkey Skin stole photos from Crane, who also owes the Crooked Man. How corrupt is this city? Flycatcher thinks that the Tweedles are not that bad, but when I tell him about the deaths of two fables, he shows us hidden basement with illegal packages. Among them is glamour made with Snow's hair, which was supposed to be sent to Auntie Greenleaf. Well, we found our witch. We rush there and meet Snow. I was going to kick the door open, but Snow doesn't let me, and probably for the best, since a little girl opens it. She lets us look around, saying that her mother would be angry if we touched anything. We don't find Crane, but we do find boxes from the butcher and sealed glamour. The girl screams that we shouldn't touch them, but we do, and it turns out that Auntie Greenleaf was glamoured to look like a little girl. As we question her, Snow gets angrier than ever and wants to burn the tree that allows Auntie to make illegal glamours. I decide that ruining this poor woman's life would be too much, and to be honest, Snow is just angry at Crane. After defending the tree, Auntie tells us that Crane was here earlier and now has gone to Pudding and Pie to use the ring that is supposed to reveal the truth about the girls there. She also says that the ring hasn't worked for a long time. We take a cab to the club and meet Georgie, who is reporting our arrival to someone. Our goal is to get Crane. He tries to use the ring on Nerissa, but we already know it won't work. Snow is now convinced that Crane didn't kill anyone, simply because he's too pathetic. Honestly, that seems reasonable. Instead of murder, we charge him with forgery of Fabletown's finances. As we are about to leave Pudding and Pie, some cars block our way. Then the Tweedle brothers appear with a woman named Bloody Mary. She orders the Tweedles to shoot us. We charge at them even though they are firing at us. We see Bigby transforming and getting angrier and angrier. We grab Dumb by the throat and are given the choice to kill him. I refuse. It's just unnecessary. Then Mary shoots Bigby and prepares to finish him off with the woodsman axe. Snow can't handle it anymore and gives Crane to them to save us. Mary also tells us that Crane is no killer. Then she tortures Bigby a bit more before leaving, and Snow is left there on the street with barely alive Bigby. We wake up in our apartment and see a trail of blood, and suddenly Bloody Mary appears in front of us. Then we wake up again. Thankfully, it was just a dream. We see Dr. Swinehart working on Bigby's wounds. Yeah, he looks like he's seen better days. We also have to put a broken bone back into place. This gave me strong Clementine Season 2 vibes. The doctor tells us that we shouldn't risk our life like that anymore, or next time it will be the last. After Swinehart leaves, Snow says that she was really scared for Bigby and that she was afraid of losing him. Then Colin shows up and ruins this wholesome moment. Snow is not in the mood for this either. She immediately comes up with a solution that, in her opinion, should make everyone less miserable. She thinks that she and Bigby haven't been doing their job the right way. Her solution is to act strictly according to the rules, which I personally don't think is a very effective strategy. Anyway, Buffkin calls and tells us that Nerissa has come to talk to Bigby. She seems happy to see us and tries to tell us something, and we quickly realize it's the ribbon that keeps her lips sealed. We try to take it off, and I did not expect her to react like that. It turns out that the person dies if the ribbon is removed. Then Snow arrives and mentions Beauty and the Beast. Nerissa clearly sends us a message that they must know something. When Nerissa leaves, Snow asks us what we learned from her, and we tell her everything. When we mention Beauty, Snow confesses that not long ago Beauty asked her for financial assistance, but Snow didn't help her at all. Now we head to Beauty and Beast's apartment. At first, Beast is hesitant to open the door, but we manage to get inside. Big B notices that their apartment doesn't look like they're struggling with money. Beast is worried that if they talk, it will backfire and they will get into serious trouble with the Crooked Man. Then someone calls. It turns out to be the Crooked Man's extortionist. Beauty leads us to a place called the Lucky Pawn, and the Beast admits that he was delivering packages for the Crooked Man from the butcher. We decide to visit the butcher first. He denies any illegal activity, so we decide to look around to be sure. When we go behind the counter, the butcher quickly escapes, and we have to find him in a fridge full of meat. When we finally catch him, he explains that Crooked Man's people threatened to kill him if he didn't cooperate. It all started when the butcher let Bloody Mary and her crew stay in the freezer during a very hot summer. He thinks that they were scouting the place. I don't think this guy is really to blame. It feels like he had no choice. We then open a hidden door and discover an illegal lab. Inside the lab, we find all kinds of things: black market glamours, shackles, and raw materials for magic. We also discover something hidden behind a blackboard, a list of buyers, and it includes almost every fable in town. Big B is in complete shock that the Crooked Man has been enslaving fables right under his nose. The butcher gives us a clue that the missing piece of magic mirror is most likely in the Lucky Pawn. He also expresses concern about how Big B's visit might affect his own well-being, and I decide that staying silent is the better option. At the Lucky Pawn, we see an angry woodsman demanding that Jersey tell him where his axe is. We decide to intervene, then Jersey punches Big B in the stomach. The woodsman isn't happy that we meddled in his business, and while we were talking, Jersey reveals his true form, a demon with animal skull and horns. Honestly, it was pretty creepy. He starts beating the woodsman and we pull him off. After Big B gets captured by the demon, woodsman helps him by driving his newly recovered axe into Jersey's skull. Then Big B throws an anvil at the demon and starts questioning him about the Crooked Man. Eventually, we find Crane's jacket with the missing piece of the mirror inside. Right before Big B leaves, Jersey tells him that there is nothing Sheriff can do about those two dead girls. After all this chaos, Big B and the woodsman step outside to smoke and talk. The woodsman says that there is something we can do about the dead girls. We can get to the person who did it. Big B takes a cab and heads back to the office. There we see an angry Bluebeard furious that Snow let Crane go. We return the missing piece of the mirror so Buffkin can repair it and tell Snow everything we've learned, and that things are much worse than we thought. Snow asks for our help with Toad while Buffkin fixes the mirror. Unfortunately, we have to tell Toad that he is being sent to the farm. He asks about our friend Colin, but we tell him it's none of his business. But still, we say we'll try to figure something out. Snow isn't happy about that, but more importantly, she wants to know why everything with Lily and Faith happened in the first place. My version is that the Crooked Man did this to show his power and control. Buffkin tells us that the mirror is fixed. First, Snow wants to know where Crane is. We see him talking to Bloody Mary, and it looks like they are sending him to the Paris. But we can't learn much because Mary notices us and disrupts the mirror. So we move on to our next task. target, the Crooked Man. The door leading to him keeps changing its location. After Snow recognizes it in Central Park, we head there immediately. Before going on, Snow says she wants to bring the Crooked Man to justice in court and keep him alive. I decide not to promise her anything. At the park, we kick the door open, and strangely, the Crooked Man doesn't have big guards. Instead, we are greeted by Tiny Tim. He's supposed to escort Bigby to the Crooked Man, or he'll get in trouble. Tim thinks the Crooked Man isn't that bad because he gave him a job, but I don't think he knows the whole truth. Finally, we arrive and see the entire crew waiting for us, with the Crooked Man himself. I decide that lighting a cigarette would be a pretty badass move. At the Crooked Man's lair, Bigby tells him straight away that this is not a friendly visit. We are here to take down this corrupt freak and list all the crimes he's responsible for. It honestly boils my blood to see him so calm and polite, acting like he's untouchable. The Crooked Man thinks that if he tells us who killed the girls, which was Georgie, by the way, we'll somehow form an alliance with him and let everything else slide. He was very wrong. We refuse his deal and make it clear that we're arresting him, not just Georgie. Then Bloody Mary suddenly appears through the mirror. Chaos starts immediately. The whole crew attacks us while Mary and the Crooked Man escape through a portal. During the fight, Georgie is badly injured, but he still manages to escape with Vivian through the portal. This time we go after them. Vivian tries to drive away, but Bigby grabs the car by the rear. It tears off and they escape anyway. We chase them through a busy street until they reach Pudding and Pie. Inside, Georgie is clearly dying from blood loss, and he admits that the Crooked Man is responsible for Faith's and Lily's deaths. I think that's only partially true. Georgie wouldn't dare kill anyone without the Crooked Man's permission, but he's still the one who did it. We also learn that Vivian is the original girl with the ribbon. She couldn't remove it or talk about it, and the other girls were bound by the same spell to guarantee total discretion for the clients. If Vivian removes the ribbon, she dies, but the spell on the others breaks. Vivian says the club was different before the Crooked Man showed up. She hates herself for everything she helped put others through and is completely done with it. Then she removes the ribbon, says goodbye to Georgie and dies. Georgie is barely alive. He asks us to make the Crooked Man suffer the same way. I let Georgie die slowly, not ending it quickly, because honestly, he earned it. Next, we head to Shepherd Metalworks to finally get the Crooked Man. While moving through the machinery, we see a board with photos of Faith, Lily, Snow, and Bigby. Bloody Mary suddenly appears, punches Bigby, and disappears again. After chasing her, we face her true form. Multiple copies of Bloody Mary attack us, forcing Bigby to transform into his final wolf form, and he is huge. We finally defeat Mary, which is extremely satisfying because she was easily the most annoying character for me, and Bigby returns to his human form. Then we reach the Crooked Man. He tries to shoot Bigby but misses and immediately starts justifying everything he has done. Even though I really want to kill him on the spot, I think the right choice is to put him on trial. Killing him would make us no better than him. Though, we hit him a little before cuffing him. The trial takes place at the Witching Well. Almost everyone we met throughout the game is there. The crowd is furious, but Snow calms everyone down. She reads out the charges against the Crooked Man and gives him a chance to defend himself, even though most people don't think he deserves it. He blames Georgie for the murders and claims he was only helping abandoned fables. He even brings up Auntie Greenleaf, saying he saved her tree while while Snow almost burned it. Snow steps forward and promises to do everything she can to make Fabletown better. Bigby backs her up, making it clear that everything he did was to protect the community, and that the Crooked Man took Faith and Lily from them. When Nerissa arrives, everything finally becomes clear. With Vivian gone, she can speak freely and confirms that the Crooked Man did order Georgie to kill the girls. Now the final question is what to do with him. Some want to kill him, some want to lock him away. I believe people like Crooked Man always find a way to escape justice, even with magic involved. So the choice is obvious. Before we even say it out loud, he attacks Bigby. Big mistake. Bigby throws him down the witching well. The next day, things seem calm again, at least on the surface. Snow is overwhelmed with work, Flycatcher mentions another truck heading to the farm, and Colin walks around completely unglamoured, not caring at all. Outside, Toad and his son are already in the truck. I honestly hoped we could help them somehow. Toad Jr. asks Bigby to give Snow a beetle as a gift, the one she liked back at their apartment. Of course, we agree. After the truck leaves, Nerissa comes to say goodbye to Bigby. She admits she wasn't fully honest before and explains the escape plan she, Faith and Lily had. Faith stealing Crane's photo ruined everything. Nerissa never heard the Crooked Man directly order the murders, only telling Georgie to take care of it. But she always believed that meant killing them. She also admits she placed the girl's head on the Woodlands doorstep to get Bigby's attention. Before leaving, she tells him he's not as bad as everyone says. The same words Faith once said. Bigby realizes that Nerissa might actually be glamoured Faith, or that Faith was glamoured Nerissa all along. I choose to chase her, and then it cuts to black. Yeah, the wolf among us. And when it comes to my opinion, I want to address the style. This cool noir aesthetic is everywhere, literally in every pixel. Secondly, the story. People love to complain that Telltale choices don't matter, but if the story is this good and you genuinely enjoyed it, maybe it was worth it. Leave your opinion in the comments and I'll see you next time.